In this podcast episode, host Danny Jones engages in a discussion with two former CIA operatives, John Kiriakou and Andrew Bustamante. The conversation covers a wide array of topics, including the implications of recent events in the Middle East, the complexities of U.S. foreign policy, the role of the CIA, and the ethical dilemmas surrounding intelligence operations. The podcast opens with a discussion about the recent decision by the Secretary of Defense to throw out the plea deal for Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the alleged mastermind behind the September 11 attacks. The implications of this decision are profound, as it sends the case back to square one after 22 years. The conversation highlights the challenges of prosecuting individuals whose confessions were obtained under torture, which raises questions about the admissibility of evidence in military tribunals. Kiriakou emphasizes the precarious position of the U.S. government, caught between the need for justice and the legal ramifications of its past actions. As the discussion progresses, the focus shifts to the role of the CIA and the ethical responsibilities of its operatives. Kiriakou, who famously blew the whistle on the CIA's torture program, reflects on his motivations and the consequences of his actions. He argues that the agency's culture often prioritizes loyalty over accountability, leading to a system where individuals are pressured to conform to unethical practices. Bustamante counters this perspective, asserting that the CIA operates within a framework of legality and that its officers are bound by their oaths to uphold the law. This clash of ideologies underscores the complexities of intelligence work and the moral dilemmas faced by operatives. The conversation then pivots to the influence of Israel in U.S. politics, particularly in light of the ongoing conflict in Gaza. Kiriakou and Bustamante discuss the historical context of U.S.-Israel relations, noting that while Israel has been a strategic ally, its actions often complicate American foreign policy. Kiriakou points out that the Israeli government, under Netanyahu, has pursued aggressive policies that have led to significant civilian casualties and have drawn international condemnation. He argues that the U.S. must grapple with the moral implications of its support for Israel, especially as the conflict escalates. The discussion also delves into the broader geopolitical landscape, particularly the threat posed by Iran. Kiriakou highlights the complexities of Iran's relationships with its proxies in the region, including Hezbollah and Hamas. He notes that while Iran has shown restraint in its military actions, it continues to support groups that threaten Israel. Bustamante adds that the U.S. must navigate this delicate situation carefully, as any misstep could lead to a wider conflict. The conversation emphasizes the need for a nuanced understanding of the region's dynamics and the potential consequences of U.S. involvement. As the podcast progresses, the focus shifts to U.S. China relations, particularly in the context of Taiwan. Bustamante expresses concern that China may take aggressive action against Taiwan, especially given the current political climate in the U.S. He argues that the instability in American politics could embolden China to act, as it perceives a window of opportunity. Kiriakou agrees, noting that China's military modernization efforts and its strategic positioning in the South China Sea pose significant challenges for U.S. interests in the region. The conversation also touches on the role of technology in modern intelligence operations. Kiriakou and Bustamante discuss how advancements in technology have transformed the landscape of espionage and surveillance. They highlight the ethical implications of data collection and the potential for abuse by governments. Kiriakou emphasizes the importance of transparency and accountability in intelligence work, arguing that the public must be informed about the actions of their government. The podcast concludes with a discussion about the impact of domestic politics on U.S. foreign policy. Kiriakou and Bustamante reflect on how political polarization and partisanship have influenced decision-making in Washington. They argue that the U.S. must find a way to bridge the divide and work towards a cohesive foreign policy that prioritizes national security and ethical considerations. The conversation underscores the challenges facing the U.S. as it navigates a complex global landscape filled with competing interests and ideologies.